Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And the drama certainly does continue after Los Angeles Thieves got battered by the Seattle Surge and complained about the CDL servers. The CDL have responded to these complaints, but Thieves are still not happy with the situation it seems. But also some words for Octane and the fact that he might just be mentally chalked up on this team at this point. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really up to the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, we've just got to discuss the FaZe versus Boston series of yesterday. It was pretty much as quick as I expected to be honest. Firstly, there's some slash up, but Card Sharp was still bigger than that, is hilarious. Not sure what we've got to do to make things better. I do wonder if there are some other maps in the game, because that's the thing, the pros kind of went towards the map, these maps. There might be some other ones, like there's quite a lot of maps in this game. There might be some that are more viable for control if they actually gave them the time of day, because honestly, Gravity Control, Card Sharp, not the greatest, but it really is getting frustrating seeing the same thing over and over, I can't lie. This series was rapid, to be honest. FaZe won game 1 at Boston, really. I mean, early on it was actually a bit of a contest fest, like it was a bit of a fight that they had, was it, towards the end, FaZe just took control of the game, then they won the game 2 as well. This 1v3 from Cellium was just completely absurd. You can't be letting this one happen. It was probably TJ's fault, to be honest. Like, Cell gets the first kill on Methods, not sure how TJ doesn't trade that one or at least stay alive in this situation, and then Nero gets completely bodied to finish off the 1 versus 3. So, yeah, this is a tough one. You can't really lose this as Cellium, especially when he drops crazy numbers game 1, goes into the game 2, clutches up this 1 versus 3, drops like another 1.4. Like, Cellium is literally a free 1.3, 1.4 every single series. Like, if you want to beat FaZe, you have to hope that the rest of the guys do an Amber Heard, to be honest, because otherwise, Cellium's just going to win you the series. It's like, difficult time for Boston. It really does seem like it's not necessarily that. I just think they get out skills, to be perfectly honest, and I really don't like, I don't know, the way they play certain situations does frustrate me to watch, especially this control, because they genuinely could have won the control. Like, they were up 2-1, they had a decent chance to do something on their offense, but like, all of a sudden, they just played a bit too slow. I feel like they give FaZe too much respect at times, but then again, FaZe are just a better team. So anyway, FaZe win at 3-0, good victory for them, winning the Search and Destroys as well, because their Search and Destroy has certainly been dodgy as of late. They're going to need to be good in Search and Destroy if they want to beat Optic later on today. Crazy Sunday of sports we have this afternoon. But aBeZy, of course, wins this one with the boys. This is the overall stat. Cell with a 1.4, Arcitys with a 1.3. He hit some nasty snipes as well, actually, that he had in his back pocket, clearly, in the Search and Destroy. Simp and aBeZy didn't really have to do that much, and all negative on the Boston Breach side. They have a big weekend for them next time out if they want to actually qualify in the winner's side, but, FaZe already looking relatively comfortable. Just to mention this real quick, it seems like Doug might have a new team down the challenger side, Ghosty, Violent, and Shawnee, potentially the team. We've got to talk about this whole Seattle versus Los Angeles Thieves series again, because accuracy, when you let accuracy drop like a 1.3 on your head, like, it's not looking particularly good. And yesterday it certainly was not. Both SMG players, Kenny and Envoy, both had 0.6s, and of course there was a lot of talk about the servers that they were playing on, as Envoy said here, back-to-back years playing a team on a server in a state that they live in. Now, of course, they were basically saying, oh, look, we played the Seattle guys on a Dallas server, on a Texas server, which of course them being out in LA is not ideal for them. And Football says, fool me once, basically saying the CDL must be at fault on this situation. Now, the CDL replies to it. So I'll explain, I did mention this in the pinned comment of yesterday's video, but this is the way it is described. So we've heard this for quite some time now, that they have this minimum latency tool. The idea being that they can put the teams on a server and then kind of correct for the differences in the ping by adding like artificial latency to one of the teams. So the idea here is that because Seattle are based out in Texas, LA Thieves are based out of the 100 Thieves compound in Los Angeles, of course, they could play it on a Denver server kind of in the middle, but apparently Seattle ping kind of bad to that server. They ping about 60, LA Thieves ping a little bit, of course, lower than 60, therefore it would be Thieves that they kind of added the minimum latency to, and therefore like both teams would be playing on 60 ping there or thereabouts. However, on the Dallas server, Thieves apparently ping relatively small. They ping about 40 or so, and Seattle, of course, because they're local, they ping about 10. So like they're adding about 30 or so latency, or as kind of Alex Finn describes, 20 to 25 millisecond latency to the Seattle players to make sure that it's effectively a fair environment. Now, of course, it's a bit dodgy. We'd much prefer to be on LAN rather than actually doing this stuff online anyway, but it is kind of the way that the CDL wants to do things nowadays, it seems, and as Alex Finn describes, no signs of any issue occurring with the tool. So look, we don't know how well this latency tool, like additional thing works, whether it works 100% accurately, and it actually does add 20 milliseconds delay in a perfectly legitimate way, and it's not like a synthetic way or whatever, like it actually feels the same. But of course, maybe it does still give some advantage to the team that's more local, but at the same time, if the teams are on 40, 35 ping, like, getting blown out in the fashion that did is obviously completely inexcusable, I think, well, pretty much every way you look at it. But yeah, the CDL basically comes out and says, through Alex Penn, like, you guys are just making excuses, right? There is no legitimacy behind these ideas that you're at a server disadvantage. Now, well, as Envoy says here in the reply there, because he's not too convinced really that this is the correct idea, we scrim versus Texas teams every day. The pings are 40 to 50 for both sides. right. I guess he's talking there about the Denver server. Why would you ever play on a server in a state where one of the two teams lives when we have access to many more? Why didn't we play on LA and add ping to us, right? That's the other question. I guess that the kind of conclusion to that was that actually the overall pings for both teams would be higher on that particular server. It's an interesting one. I think Envoy has a point to a degree, but if the CDL can say it doesn't really matter what server you're playing on, if the pings are the same, given our kind of like latency tool that we have, then it shouldn't really make a difference. Definitely treat your perspective on this one though, because I think Envoy is kind of, in a way, I think he's understandably frustrated, but at the same time, like, you know, don't get thrilled in the fashion that you did, would probably be the other way to look at it. Now, as Kenny says, lost 3-0, hilarious how bad the servers feel in matches, etc, etc. And as he says, you know, I know what I'm playing every day. There's a huge difference in playing on, I guess, the Denver server locally and playing on the one that he actually was playing on yesterday's match. An interesting situation. I must mention this though as well, just because the comparison between what Kenny had to say on February the 6th, this is when I believe they played FaZe for the first time, and he said at the time that FaZe was the only team they had issues with servers, because apparently at the time the Denver server was a reasonable option between Los Angeles and the Texas teams, but apparently now they want to play on a Dallas server and do the tool or whatever. They probably use the tool anyway, if it even works. But they were saying at the time, well, Kenny was saying that really it's only the Atlanta teams that cause them issues, just because, well, the only one Atlanta team that's based in Atlanta, that being Atlanta FaZe, because you know, actually finding a good server for that kind of matchup is a little bit of a challenge for them. So they reckon that match specifically was bad at the time, and now maybe they think that other games are additionally bad as well. Now, we've got to talk about this also in some more detail, just because there was some talk from Ace on the flank last night about this particular clip. Now, Octane came out and tried to explain exactly what he's doing here. Now, whether we buy this as a legitimate excuse is another question. I'll just put this on the big screen because I didn't do it last night. Look at this. He does the 360. Now, there's no way, like, well, okay, there's not necessarily no way, but I do wonder if he's actually telling the truth here in a way, or whether he's just kind of covering for him getting frustrated, because he explains this by saying the following. You know, yeah, I had to plant bomb and I did it to get auto-aim around the bomb. Solimar through the wall definitely looks like I'm trolling. So we'll go back to this one real quick just to actually see if this actually makes any sense. So anyway, Octane flies off the top rope here. He's got to plant the bomb. He flies out the top window, spins around like this. Like, you know, I guess he is kind of looking through the wall here. Like, okay, the aim assist glitch is one where maybe you shouldn't exploit it, maybe you shouldn't. But he does see accuracy anyway right here if he actually just looks at him. Like, and then he spins around like this through this entire wall, maybe to try and get some aim assist. I don't really buy that as an idea. I don't know what you guys think about that. Whether he's just kind of actually getting frustrated and trying to cover for himself. But I don't really think he was doing this to try and get aim assist through the wall. I don't know. That's my perspective. You guys might disagree on it. But this is what Ace has to say on the matter. Some frustrations from Envoy about the servers they're playing on, but also the fact that Octane might just be mentally checked out at this point, given that, well, Thieves' tragic situation.
We looked good in scrims. That's why it's like super annoying. Like, we're just getting slammed in the matches. But bro, how am I playing a Dallas team on a Dallas server? Like, we play on these servers every single day in practice, on a Denver server, a Salt Lake server, and the ping is within 10 to 20. I just don't understand why we're going to play. Like, for all I know, the ping could not work or could do nothing to the game. But why would we not try to make it as even as possible to start with? I think it's great we have the tool, but why am I not playing on a Cali server? I spawned in on Tuscan, right? On Tuscan map 1. We pull up the scoreboard, whatever. They're all on 9 ping. As the countdown goes from 30 seconds to 0, when it hits like 5 seconds, all of a sudden they're all on like 40, 50. So I think it's good we have the tool, but I don't know what that's doing, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't understand how the tool works. Like, I just don't get it.
Why would we not meet in the middle and be on a Denver server?
The next round is a little interesting coming out of Sam. He just wants to do a little 360 off the top mid. Sam was saying that he did this play right here because he wanted to get aim assist through the walls.
I ain't buying it. I'm not buying it.
You're not buying it? You're not buying it?
Mentally chalked, bro.
You think he was better?
Map up. Something happened. Something happened that we didn't see on the broadcast from his POV that he chalked his map up. There's no shot he's jumping off with his pistol out, doing 360s to get aim assist.
And then getting smoked.
Sam, I like you. I'm not buying that.
I don't know, bro. It's just interesting because it looked like he was trolling.
He was trying to get info, but it did look trolly.
It looked pretty trolly. Like, it looked a little trolly for sure.
I was going for a big optic hex top 5.
And you do have to wonder, therefore, as a result, whether Nadeshot's looking at this thinking, okay, look, hang on a second, lads, just because he's talked all this talk lately from the Nadeshot side about, okay, like 100 Thieves, we're not just here, Los Angeles Thieves, of course, as part of that, not just here to, you know, sell hoodies and this type of stuff. We're here to be a premier esports organization, make great content, but also to be a winning team. That's kind of the number one thing that Nature wants to do. He put together this team, or kind of put together people that put together this team for that exact reason. And they're really not getting close, right? The lost again meme with the thing like it says LA, the LA Thieves logo with lost and again. That seems to be coming into action every single week at this point, and understandably so, when they've lost their last 6 maps in a row. So far from ideal, they can still turn things around, but like just watching these 2 series made me think there's no way this team of 4 is actually going to work. Kenny, if anything, is the guy kind of on the chopping block nowadays, because Kenny's never been dropped in his entire career. He's been a mainstay of 100 Thieves and LA Thieves since, and he still has these occasional, well, not really occasional to be honest nowadays, he quite often drops a 0.6, drops a 0.7 with the SMG, and that's the thing I thought, that when they kind of did this role change, is like this is the last and final call, like this is the last thing, this has to work out, and if it doesn't work out, the team is just chalked. Something has to give. Maybe it's Kenny out, Pentagram in, who knows, try that as the SMG duo, because it feels to me like, since Drazah's gone to the AR, the kind of flex role, both Drazah and Octane have performed somewhat better, and Envoy's probably fallen off, as has Kenny, to be honest, statistically, and your SMG duo is the lifeblood of your team. If your SMG duo is not firing, you're just going to get bodied. So many questions for them to answer. They, of course, say, oh yeah, our practice is going fantastic, we just can't translate it into matches, which are honestly the kind of buzzwords that these Call of Duty players have. And it does remind me a little bit of kind of the Optic Chicago team from last year, to be fair, where Envoy was, where they were doing well in scrims and then they just couldn't translate it into games, or whatever that even means, to be perfectly honest. The kind of pros do like to talk about this stuff. Anyway, let's talk about the games for today. Optic play FaZe. It's as I said, a massive Sunday for sport, not just sports, but esports as well. And well, here are the games then. So the first game is that, look, there's been a lot of blowing up bowls the last few days. Honestly, all these games are interesting to me. I hope they're competitive, to be honest, because Paris versus Guerrillas, LAG have been terrible the last few days, but I don't know if Paris can beat them anyway. Surely LAG should be able to win this one. If they don't win this one, it's chalked. I think I have to take LAG anyway, but I might take them in a 3-2 or maybe a 3-1. I don't know. Paris are probably going to feel kind of confident going into this one, right? And maybe they can pull something together. This is probably their best chance to get another 10 points on the board. Unfortunately, it's not the bounty match. They played Subliners, of course, yesterday, and Subliners were the ones that took the 10k. There is one bounty game, the next up, Optic versus FaZe. This is, of course, a massive one. If anything, the pressure here is on FaZe, right? Because they've lost to Optic 4 times this season. This should be the time, finally, where they actually beat this Optic team. They're looking good this week. They're looking very solid. Their Search and Destroy is looking better. I think if Optic want to win, it's going to have to be in a Game 5 fashion. But, look, honestly, who knows what's going to happen? Because Optic, they have the firepower. They have the firepower. They can actually match the Atlanta FaZe. I'm hoping this is a Game 5 series. I really want it to be competitive. I think this time I probably just have to take FaZe 3-2. I do think they're due a victory against Optic, but at the same time, you can never really count these guys out. They have been looking very good with Pro Loot as well, and if they do beat FaZe again, that just goes to show. Well, it obviously cements them number 1, but it also does raise the question as to Illy's return. When's he coming back anywhere? That's going to have been a big discussion point of the last few days. So I think we're going to take FaZe 3-2, but I feel like a Game 5 is here on the cards regardless. And I also think a Game 5 could be on the cards the last series. This was an absolute banger series, Subliners versus Toronto at the Prime Classic. You guys might remember it was the semi-finals. New York eventually won it 3-1, but it was an incredibly close fought affair. Both of the kind of control, I think it was 1-1 after I'm pretty sure Subliners won the first hard point. Toronto bounced back in the Search and Destroy. Or anyway, it was 1-1, and then Subliners won some crazy 2 close maps on the control. I think it was that Tuscan control that was ridiculous, and then the Tuscan hard point just after that. So hopefully we get a similar map set. Hopefully we get a similar set of results. I feel like Ultra can take this series Game 5 this time, but I kind of feel like Subliners, we just need to see a bit of ice in Game 5. We haven't needed, honestly, New York have never needed to go Game 5 yet, it seems. They've every single series they've won, I'm pretty sure, has not gone Game 5, and even when they lost to FaZe, that didn't go Game 5 either. But I think they're going to show some clutch factor here, and it's going to go to a Game 5. Somehow Ultra are going to win the first Search and Destroy. They're going to get one of the respawns, and then Subliners are going to clutch it regardless Game 5. So I think I'm going to go LAG, FaZe, Subliners, but it's not an easy day to call. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit in the like button, tell us YouTube gods, this is a good video. I just like you should see it as well, and I hope grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you guys as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.